Hi, everyone. This is Blair Glencore's Executive Director of the Accountability Lab. I am here in Liberia with Jefferson Krua. Hi, Jefferson.
Hi. How you doing?
Jefferson will tell you more about his incredible newspaper, The Bush Chicken, and I'm also here with Titi Gboro. Hi, Titi.
Hello, Blair.
Who is a pioneering journalist in Liberia doing some really great work around and within the media. And so this is our quarterly impact call, an opportunity for us to talk to some of the amazing change makers that we are working with in countries, including Liberia, about the work they're doing, the successes they're seeing, the challenges they're facing, and the impact that they are having. So we're running a little bit late. I'll pass over to Jefferson to begin with to quickly give us a 2 or 3 minute overview of Bush Chicken, what you're doing with Bush Chicken, how long it's been operating, and some of the reasons why it's so important in Liberia.
Hi. So I'm the founder of the Bush Chicken, which is an online media outlet, high-quality media outlet. And the reason why I got into this is because I saw a lack of media institutions that were consistently high quality and dealt with a lot of the accountability issues that I saw as needing to be addressed. And some of those were the issue of newsmakers frequently paying reporters for attending press conferences, which create a little bit of conflict of interest in writing the stories. We also have a situation where media organizations are frequently perceived as being in the pockets of politicians and other wealthy people. And I mean, there's a lot of politicians actually own their own news outlets here too. And then also because of the lack of training and exposure to what role media should play, they also don't properly keep government and society at large accountable. And so those were some of the issues that really drew me into starting this news outlet and trying to tackle these issues.
Cool. And so what are the main challenges you faced so far, Jefferson?
Some of the main challenges we face are ones that are faced by most outlets, which is becoming sustainable, finding alternative sources of income that can allow you to pay your journalists high enough to be able to reduce their susceptibility to these corrupt practices or these practices that may not be completely ethical, especially in the journalism field. So that's our biggest challenge.
Right. Okay, Titi, to move on to you quickly. You've been a journalist for a long time in Liberia, doing some really amazing reporting on all sorts of issues. Can you tell us a bit about your background and why you got into journalism, and then Accountability in Us and what you're doing with that radio show?
Okay. Well, my name is Titi Gboro, a journalist in Liberia, and I've been a journalist for almost six years now. And journalism is something that I have admired from very little age, though I've been told by my parents, especially my father, who is deceased now, that it's not a good thing because journalists die very young or even when they shouldn't die. But it's something that I love so much and I have passion for, and I decided to pursue it. And in our country, the issue of journalists in Liberia is a difficult thing. Being a journalist in Liberia is a difficult thing because our country is a country seen as a very corrupt one. And so the journalism profession doesn't pay in Liberia. And if you want to get into this profession, you have to stand your ground or you fall for everything. But we in Liberia, especially the media, are underpaid, and you have only a few of us who are going to stand up and say, you know what, this is something we've gotten into and we believe in it and we think we should do it to the best of our abilities. It's difficult to find people doing it because of the way things are in our country and the way our country is perceived, but we have decided to stand our ground. I've been a part of Accountability Liberia, Accountability Lab Liberia, and we've been doing some amazing things here. The program we're doing is a strange one because the media is also seen as corrupt. And so if you're critiquing your colleagues in the media, is a difficult thing. We've been having difficulties getting people on the show because the media is seen as a very corrupt entity. And if you question people about corruption, though we are the ones who are reporting the stories about the corrupt government officials, we also are perceived as corrupt. And so if you bring your colleagues to the limelight and try to talk to them about corruption in Liberia, it's a very difficult thing. But I'm sure we're making progress because some of them are happy about the Accountability and Us program we have on the radio, and they're stepping up. And even today, I was surprised during our program, we had more callers than we ever had before, and we had people who I didn't even think were listening to us, and they were really cautioning the journalists. And now some of my colleagues can come up to say, yeah, we're doing this wrong thing, and we think even though the media is underpaid, but we have an obligation to the society, and we have to do it right. So if we can sit on radio now and critique ourselves, those things we never did before, I'm sure we're making progress. And as we go on, in the long term, I'm sure the media will get better day by day.
Thanks, Titi. So just to explain Accountability and Us a little bit more, you have guests every week who are from the media, and you ask them questions about the accountability of the media, what they've written, how they're playing their role as a watchdog, and try and get answers from them around those issues.
Absolutely. And we also try to talk to people we believe have those people who have morals in our society, bringing them on the show and asking them questions. How are they able to keep themselves from all of this corruption? You know, government officials and people who are thought of as being very respectable people in the society, and we get answers from them, and we're sure that when our listeners listen to these people, they can understand that though this country is perceived as a very corrupt country, but there are people who still stand their ground. And then somebody with the hope that someone would say, yeah, I believe I can be like this person. So Accountability and Us is a program. It comes up on Thursday at 11. So 1 hour program, 11 to 12, with a repeat on Sunday at 6 p.m.
Great. You mentioned that journalists in Liberia are not paid enough, and maybe that's the reason for corruption. Why do you think they're not paid enough, or what can we do about that?
Well, I think there are many reasons why journalists are not paid enough, because I remember exactly 2 years ago, the Press Union of Liberia decided to come out with this stuff called the collective bargaining agreement, and then talking to all media owners in an effort to make the media better, to set a standard where you can pay a journalist not less than certain amount of money. But this is something that has been difficult to do, because most of the media owners, or not all of the media owners, are part of the Press Union of Liberia. So to get them to sign an agreement or a collective bargaining to have the media pay is a difficult thing. And anyone coming out of high school, we don't have standards here. Like for other countries, you must have a permit before you practice. You must take an aptitude test. Unlike Liberia, it's just open. You come from high school today, and then you call into a newsroom, and someone says, go on the field, or go in the field and get me news. And then they just give you an ID card, and you're free to practice. So if the Press Union of Liberia also was very strong, or is very strong on these things, making the Ministry of Information that we have here, to make sure that meeting the Ministry of Information and having a meeting of the mind and making sure that people are given permits to practice, I think it will help in that direction. But as it is, we all lose. So anyone can just do whatever they want to do and pay anyone peanuts, because you don't want to pay. You will not find the best journalists, and people don't take that seriously. They don't care whatever the report. It's not of, they don't really think about that. Only a few of the journalists believe that, you know what, this is my character, this is my career, and this is what I stand for, and I'm going to do the right thing.
It's hard to be a person of integrity within a system that doesn't promote that kind of behavior.
Absolutely.
Jefferson, on that issue of kind of revenue and payment of journalists and so on, how are you dealing with that with Bush Chicken? You know, what is the revenue model? How can you begin to build a sustainable business in the media here?
Well, I'll talk a little bit more about that as we're sure. But for us, we've found that being an online news outlet in this day and age is very tough to rely on. It's very tough to rely on advertisement because of Facebook. Facebook, it's so cheap for any business or individuals to advertise in that using that medium. You can pay less than $5 a day to advertise and reach the people you want to reach. So that's been a struggle. So what we're looking at is trying to find other products that we can offer, probably more in the line of business-to-business products and services, and also probably need to transition from just being an online, solely online news outlet and becoming a real, overall media company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you take government money for advertising or anything you do with the paper, or is that something you can't do?
We have not done that yet. For advertisement, we've advertised for mostly NGOs that are based in the United States, because still most of our readers are based on that side. About 70% are based in the U.S., Europe, and Australia. So that's what is that's the group that's most attracted to advertising through that medium.
Hmm. And so tell us just quickly about future plans for the Bush Chicken, what you're going to do next, and how you're going to make sure that your journalists and your organization has integrity and accountability.
Okay, so yeah, and ensuring that our organization has accountability and integrity is a big part of achieving that is to make sure we have the money to tell people no whenever we get requests that are not what we can do or what we want to do. And so one of the things that we're planning on doing within the upcoming months is to actually develop an application. We're developing a web application that will connect businesses with job applicants and basically allow them to screen job applicants. Right now in Liberia, when people are looking for places to apply for jobs, the number one place that people go to is the eMansion.gov website. And even that is just, you go there and you still have to email the folks, and there's not a good enough way for the companies to screen the applicants systematically. Kind of like if you go on the UN Jobs website, they have a very good way of screening so that they don't have to read every single one. So that's something that we've started collecting. We're actually going to be redoing our website, slight tweaks and changes, along with getting that application embedded in the website. And then we're also planning on going to print. We will start out as a once-a-week newspaper. And as we gauge the market and kind of learn from being existent as a print newspaper, then we will increase the frequency of how we're printing the paper. So those are the two main things that we're definitely doing in the next couple of months, and we're starting to plan to see how we can achieve that.
Very good. And TT, for you, what is the impact you've seen through Accountability in Us so far, and what have you learned, and what do you plan to do for the rest of this year with it?
I think the impact is growing slowly. As I said earlier, not many of us are used to being critiqued. We're the ones who put people under the spotlight. We always go out there and say all of the bad things about what the government does, what the people in the society are doing. So getting media persons to be placed under the spotlight is a very difficult thing. Nobody wants to be seen as the watchdog of society, and then another person is there watching you. So it was it's an uphill battle, getting people to talk about it. But I think after, because today's edition was the 11th edition, I think my colleagues are getting used to it. And even though they complain, but if you're on the show and you ask questions that make you look ugly, you tend to want to do the right thing. And what we're getting from the public is that, yeah, this is a very good show, and this is a very good time, because as we go towards elections, if media people are critiqued like this, we believe they will do better. And they're giving us the thumbs up for this ethnical show, because this is the first time we're having a show where we can talk as media people and trash out our differences. And if someone is ethically wrong, you can tell them that, no, this one you've done is very wrong. And if we're not happy about what's happening at the Press Union of Liberia, we can say it there. The last time we had the president of the Press Union of Liberia on the show, and he was saying a lot of good things, and those things that we believe also that media people in Liberia are not doing. Today, there were too many people talking about the Press Union of Liberia because the guest was very strong on the Press Union of Liberia, and they were calling for us to invite the president again to provide clarity to what he was saying. So I think over the year, it will get better, and it's going to significantly help as we go towards elections.
Yeah, and the elections in Liberia are next October, so just over a year from now, and the media clearly has a really important role to play as the elections approach. And Sophie, I know that you've maybe collected a couple of questions, or there might be some that are coming through at that end. Is there anything that anyone would like to ask Titi and Jefferson? If you can still hear us.
Yes, I have one question. I'm wondering if you have, either of you or both of you have a specific example of a story or show that you've done that you feel like you're particularly proud of, or you feel like raised some important issues or have helped investigate something that critical that was going on that you'd like to share?
I think you were cutting in and out, but I think the question was, is there a specific example of a story that you're particularly proud of that you think has caused a certain amount of conversation or led to a certain outcome around a topic that's really important?
Well, for me, I wouldn't say a certain story, because the show is programmed in a way where we go through the papers, the daily papers for the week, and then if we see this story where maybe Jefferson did a story and then boom, he wrote about the Ministry of Transport, and then after the story was published, the Transport Ministry comes back and say this story Jefferson wrote is not true. We try to call Jefferson, and if we can get people from the Transport Ministry, we'll also get them, and then we'll look at the ethical breaches. If this person says that Jeff wasn't ethical in doing this story, we'll talk about it, and then we see the public is the judge to tell us who did it right, or who is telling the truth or not. And we'll always have journalists who also call in and say, yeah, this is ethical, this is unethical. So it's a way of, critiquing one another. And I remember specifically we had the publisher of a very well-known newspaper in Liberia who appeared on the show. And some of the things he was saying, and the story he wrote, it was a difficult story for him to defend. And he had people criticizing him, saying that, Mr. Brown, we least expected this of you, because we thought you were this very credible person in the media, and we have a lot of respect for you. Well, some people called me and said, this your show is kind of making others to look ugly. But then after the show, he left, and then I called him, and he said, yeah, Titi, I think it's a good thing, because I didn't know that. And I also like to hear what the public makes of what I did. So I think it's a good thing. And when you call me, or we'll be very careful now as we write our stories. So now it's a difficult thing. As I said, today was the 11th edition. It's a difficult thing now to find those kinds of stories in the papers. Yeah.
Excellent. Jefferson, what about you? What do you think has been the most impactful story Bush Chicken has published, or where have you seen the most traction or comments or discussion, and what impact do you think that's had?
Well, the ones where we've gotten the most comments on has been related to Liberian Electricity Corporation, and that's just because it's just something that impacts people it impacts so many people, and it just feels like there's not much accountability, and citizens don't really know what they're doing, and so we were trying to kind of shed light on that issue. But probably one of the most recent story that I'm kind of happy with how we're going about it is an investigation on there's the first commercial gold mine in it's in Grand Cape County. This is the first commercial gold mine in Liberia, and they had some issues with the Environmental Protection Agency, where there was a spill and there was some cyanide that kind of leaked into the river nearby, which has impacted the livelihood of residents there. And when we first started covering the story, EPA has not wanted to talk, and also the company has did not want to give us any information. Which, I mean, I don't blame them. They're a private company. They don't owe us anything. But the government agency that's there to protect the people, they had issued a fine, but they hadn't really told us how they were going to reimburse, how they're going to make sure that residents in the area, because of disruption to their livelihood, they would they'll get reimbursed. So we pursued that story actually because we don't have like a budget to be able to send people to travel. I took money out of my own pocket and sent the reporter to the region, which is a little far. And we got a story on that, and we were the only news outlet. Everybody just reported what the press release from EPA said. We find these guys, but we went there and actually talked to the people, and they said, well, we can't drink water from these hand pumps anymore. And we used to fish here and eat it and sell it, but now we have to go and buy fish from nearby place. And we know when the BP oil spilled in Louisiana, the farmer, the fishermen there they were able to get reimbursed for the disruption to their livelihood. So after this happened, I started monitoring some forums that investors for the company monitor. And, we got them to actually, I actually saw that people were talking about the article, and it looks like it actually got the attention of the company because it sent people to the village and said, you guys have been talking to reporters, and we now the company frequently sends us any press release that they release, they send it to the reporter that's on the story. And we're still trying to get EPA to actually talk about this and actually tell us exactly what's going on. But at least, like, I've seen, we're getting some progress based on the story that we released, and it's something that made me proud. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's exactly what it's all about, I think, in terms of creating accountability through the media. I think we're out of time, sadly, but if other people have questions, we can answer them on Twitter. And Jefferson, in 20 seconds, can you tell us how people can check out Bush Chicken, where you are on social media, and how they can be in contact?
Okay, we're on the internet at bushchicken.com, bushchicken.com, and also at the Bush Chicken on Twitter and Facebook.
Brilliant. And Titi, likewise, if people want to know more about Accountability in Us or your work, where can they find you?
Then we're on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah, Accountability in Us is on Facebook. So when you go on Facebook and type Accountability in Us, you find us on Facebook.
And if they want to tune in, which radio station is it on? And can they access it outside Liberia?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No. So if you're not in Liberia, you can tune in.
Okay. Yeah. So find a Liberian friend to record it. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We will put this out on social media too for any of you who want to listen again or to pass it on to your friends. And thanks so much for being part of the call. And thanks, Anne-Sophie, for organizing.
Thank you.